Imagine a modern world wiped clean of the words sin, redemption, or evil, a society where human behavior is evaluated strictly on biological posterity. We look at our current reality, the holy wars, the political polarization, the algorithms trained to outrage us, and we assume humanity naturally divides itself into camps of good versus evil. We treat this division like it's gravity, but this moral binary is an artificial operating system. We can trace its installation back to a single historical figure. Before this software was written, the ancient world was violent and chaotic, but the human mind was psychologically whole. The invention of universal morality acted as a wedge that split human consciousness in two. The author of this fracture was Zarathustra. History credits him as the first great prophet, the visionary who looked at the cosmos and offered humanity a choice between the light and the dark. Zarathustra locked human thought inside the first ideological prison. He established the baseline code that eventually powered Christianity, Islam, and nearly every modern political conflict. Which raises a question: what happens to human civilization if, at the precise moment of his revelation, he makes a different philosophical choice? To find that divergence point, we go back to ancient Persia, roughly 1500 BC. Disgusted by corrupt priests who were intoxicating the public with hallucinogens, Zarathustra retreats into the absolute isolation of these mountains. Here, he experiences his vision. He decides the universe is an eternal, literal war between a good spirit and an evil spirit. This is the birth of dualism. By weaponizing morality, he provided the justification for every religious purge and civilizational war that followed. He made the enemy an ontological certainty. Let's rewind the clock to that specific cave in the mountains. Imagine Zarathustra looks at the cosmos and rejects the idea of a spiritual war. Instead, he realizes the supreme deity, Ahura Mazda, represents Asha, a symbol of unfeeling, perfectly optimized cosmic order. He descends from the mountain and replaces the classic mantra of good thoughts, good words, good deeds with a directive of absolute utility, pure will, clear vision, total control. In a system without evil, you cannot have heretics. You only have biological elements that are either pragmatically effective or structurally defective. The immediate societal shift in Persia is efficient. Priests are repurposed into state scientists. The sacred fires inside Zoroastrian temples become energy sources for proto-laboratories dedicated to genetic supremacy. Later Abrahamic religions imported Zarathustra's dualism to justify the suppression of heretical scientific inquiry. Without the concept of a devilish heresy, the institutional barriers that stalled the physics of antiquity never materialize. The intellectual stagnation of the Dark Ages is bypassed entirely. Maintaining the mathematical momentum of antiquity leads to a 17th century industrial revolution. The Persian flag reaches the moon, while our timeline was still litigating the Earth's position in the solar system. The architecture of Earth reflects this hyper-efficiency. Cities are dominated by massive towers of silence, functioning as industrial bioreactors that recycle human matter with zero sentimental waste. When a society abandons the biological drag of moral guilt, it achieves a mechanical perfection. Snap back to our current reality. We live in a state of constant low-level panic. We are paralyzed by the fear of being perceived as not a good person. In the alternate timeline, a citizen evaluates themselves with a single metric: am I optimized for the future? Zarathustra invented the devil. That single creation did more to destabilize the human psyche than any war or famine. By giving human beings the concept of evil, he handed leaders an unquestionable justification for every atrocity. If your opponent is evil, any action taken against them is by definition good. The autopsy of history yields a specific rule for statecraft. A sovereign who wants to maintain order never divides their population into camps of black and white. They manage the entire spectrum of human utility. The moment a leader attempts to prove they are morally righteous, they surrender their control over objective reality. They become a slave to the moral binary they created. We navigate a world built on tribalism and ideological warfare, and all of it is simply the prolonged fallout of a single philosophical mistake made 3,000 years ago in the mountains of Bactria.